Alright, fam, today we're going to be talking about that seaweed, right? And why we should add it to our diets, you know what I'm saying? So we can bring some balance to our lives. So make sure you stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. Yo, this brother Tim sipping on some of that root beer, and bro, well, at least the beginning of the root beer. It's not quite the root beer yet. Got to get some sarsaparilla root, right? And when we're working with it, it's gonna have a little cinnamon taste, a little bit, because I'm gonna brew it, and I'm gonna make sure that this one is gonna be a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I want us to have some real root beer flowing through the community, because one of the goals of Nyame Journey is to eliminate or help eliminate and to help people be able to deal with a lot of the diseases that come from the gut. We want to, because this is something that we can do. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, let's lift up the glass. Let's get our probiotics. And since we're talking about probiotics, one of the things I wanted to cover today is some prebiotics as well as something that benefits the probiotics, right? That help this whole microbiome, right? Of course, we know that we're 70% water, and that we are, in a sense, children of water, right? Of course, we're children of all the elements, but we got to salute each one, you know what I'm saying? We can salute the air through our breathing, you know what I'm saying? We could salute the fire through maintenance of our spiritual strength and harnessing our willpower, you know what I'm saying? We could salute the earth by taking care of our bodies and working out and fasting and doing stuff like that. And we could take care of the water part of us, right? By making sure that our body is clean and immersing ourselves in water on a regular basis, right? And all four of the elements come together to make what we call in Nyame the fifth element, which is life, right? Life sprouts out when all five elements are working, or at least our form of life, when all five elements are involved and acting, right? Right? So now, we are going to talk about something that comes from the ocean, right? A very powerful food that a lot of us, at least in America, overlook. Now, one of the reasons I got into looking into seaweed, because that's what we're talking about today. One of the reasons I got into looking into seaweed was very simple, right? One of the things that we started talking about as we start talking about the four, come on, say them with me: air, water, food, and movement. One of the things we start talking about is that one of the things that we start correcting when we start breathing. When we start drinking water, more water on a regular basis, when we started eating more nutritious food and started feeding and taking care of this microbiome that helps us in being a superorganism, right? And making the movements to work this physical body, right? We would start loosening up certain stuff in us. We will start opening up certain things in us, and we will be able to have access to different dimensions and different wisdom that we never knew existed prior to, right? Because we awaken the emotion. We enliven the mental. We learn how to harness the emotional. We plug into the spiritual. And we are fully able to express ourselves through the physical. I'm gonna have to go back and write that down. Man, I told you that fasting does something for you, man. But listen, so you got all those things working, and you got things opening up in you. Your body is secreting hormones. Your body is firing, and it's hot, right? Now, one of the major things that we want to definitely get to start firing is the pineal gland. And one of the things that is a problem with the pineal gland is as we start getting older and then get exposed to more of these toxins, that it's starting to look like more and more that we are being purposely exposed to, right? Like fluoride. One of the things that help loosen it up and get rid of fluoride in your body is iodine. But one of the things we have to be aware of is that with our iodine intake, we have to be very careful because it could cause thyroid issues, right? So I'm not saying add seaweed to your diet on a daily basis, but I'm saying make sure that you start getting some seaweed in you, not just with your sushi, right? But you can add seaweed, small amounts of seaweed to your beans. You can add small amounts of seaweed to your salads. You can add small amounts of seaweed to soups. You can add small amounts of seaweed to some of your meat dishes, right? Or you could just eat seaweed every now and then instead of grabbing a bag of chips, right? I'm not just talking about you just totally changing the diet, because a lot of y'all like how you eat, right? I'm just helping you find additives that you can add, since we're talking about culturally appropriate diets. And I'm looking at seaweed as a natural green. And since a lot of African people, Africa is a very big continent that has a lot of coast, which means they live by a lot of water, which means they interact with the ocean a lot. So I'm quite sure we may be able to find some African cultures who have taken advantage of the harvest, the amount of sea vegetables that are out there, right? So this is a culturally appropriate food. You know I'm really into that cultural appropriateness. All right, so I'm reading from Wellness Mama, the benefits of seaweed and when to avoid. Let's see. Alright, this is by Katie, Wellness Mama. She updated this on April 13th, 2017. So you go and look this up. Get them some support, because Wellness Mama be dropping some nice stuff down for us. What is seaweed? Seaweed or algae belongs to a group of plant-like organisms that grow in the sea. Some algae are one-cell organisms such as microalgae, which means they are more like bacteria that also generate energy through photosynthesis. Most of the seaweed that we consume as food have many cells. Seaweed is part of a healthy diet and used in herbal remedies in many traditions. Alright, she talked about the different types of seaweed. We got green algae such as sea lettuce or ova, and sea grapes. Sea grapes, wow, didn't know they existed. Brown algae such as kombu, nyame, or kelp. and wakema, the miso soup seaweed. Red algae such as dulse, lavar, and nori, the sushi seaweed. And blue-green algae such as spirulina and chlorella, which is the ones you like to take. Usually you take the little pills and it's the microorganism. Alright, let's get to it. Benefits of seaweed. The unique properties of seaweed makes it beneficial to the body in several ways. Vitamins and minerals. Now listen up. Seaweed is much more nutrient dense than any land vegetable. It is an excellent source of micronutrients including folate, calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, and selenium. More importantly, seaweed is a great source of iodine. We spoke about that. DHA and EPA and omega-3 fatty acids. Unlike land plants, seaweed contains preformed omega-3 fatty acids. There's a fatty acid that you need. Fatty acids, DHA and EPA. So seaweed or algae oil can be a reliable source of omega-3 for a vegetarian. It aids in digestion. Beans can cause gas and stomach upsets for many people. This can be easily fixed by adding kombu, a particular kind of seaweed, to the beans when cooking. So now, because you know beans are culturally appropriate. Beans and peas. I just read an African folktale called "The Hare in His Hole." I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but anyway, it was a story about the African rabbit growing peas. So we call them peas, beans. We know this is culturally appropriate. They have fiber. They're very nutrient for us. So we're going to start looking into some beans real soon too. But to help cut down the gas and helping your body digest some of the beans, one of the first things you need to start doing is starting to allow your beans to soak. Same thing with the nuts. Why? Because they're living organisms. They're seeds. And in order to get the process started so that it's easier for your body to digest them, you need to let them soak. What happens to a seed when you put it in water? Right? It starts the process of it coming back to life, because basically a seed is basically, in a sense, a dried survival pod for a life form. When you put water on it, you awaken the life form within it and bring it out of its hibernation, for lack of better terms at this point in time, and you get certain actions to start happening within the seed. So this is why we soak the beans. And when you soak the beans, it start releasing certain gases, right? So boom, this is why we talk about soaking the beans. So we'll get into that a little bit later, right? Seaweed and antioxidants. Seaweed contains many antioxidants. As part of a healthy diet, seaweed can help protect against oxidative stresses and prevent chronic diseases such as cancer and digestive problems, right? But like everything else, you got to be careful with your intake. Fiber and prebiotics. All plants contain fiber, but seaweed also have other odd types of carbohydrates that we lack the digestive enzyme to digest. These includes carrageenan, fucan, galactan, and many more. These carbohydrates then become food for bacteria. Right? That's that microbiome. So, by incorporating seaweed into our diet, we throw another thing in there that not only feeds you, the microbiome is you, but it feeds that microbiome a little bit more directly. What you eat directly influences which bacteria dominates in your gut. Now, and we know which bacteria dominates in our guts if we are dealing with them. Well, not even if. What bacteria is dominating in our gut also controls what type of person we are. Did y'all hear me? Right? The stuff that we got growing inside of us helps determine what type of person we are. If you see somebody with a bad attitude all the time, you know their microbiome is off, right? Ain't enough serotonin being pumped up in their system. They got some evil microorganism that's in there eating them up, right? That's not really benefiting the thing. You know what I'm saying? We got this life in us that we got to start learning how to feed, and we got to start learning to encourage the microorganisms that are working best for us. Many of us are stuck because the flora that we have in our microbiome, the life that we have in our microbiome is in a sense anti-life. It's unhealthy and is not productive for us. It's not working well together in our superorganism and is making us unsuper. You understand? Do you understand? So when we start taking food, we have to understand that we are, in a sense, providing food for our micro universe. We have the ability to decide what type of food, what type of energy we want to produce. Do we want to produce quality energy for this universe that we have been given stewardship over? Right? Many of us want to run the world, but we can't run our bodies. We can't, as Brother Kwame shared on the Facebook post, we can't control our homes. This is your home. You exist in this. All this other stuff is like accessories, right? All this is accessories. The pictures on the wall, the candelabras and the glass. All this is extra. Can we control the microbiome, right? Because when you start controlling yours, the people around you start looking at how well you're doing and start asking questions, and they start getting into learning to control their microbiome, which helps you get better thoughts, which helps you to feel good. Everybody want to feel good, right? What we eat directly influences which bacteria dominates in your gut. The type of bacteria that can feed best on the foods you choose to eat will grow better. This explains, now check this out, culturally appropriate. This explains why some cultures handle different types of food better than others. In fact, scientists found that gut bacteria in healthy Japanese people are higher in bacteria that can digest the types of carbohydrates in seaweed. Why? Because seaweed was the earth's or the water's gifts to that people, because that's basically an island, right? So their body has adjusted to eating seaweed, and I'm saying incorporating the nutrient-dense power of this food into yours, right? Potential risk from eating seaweed. There are a couple potential concerns to be aware of when consuming seaweed. Too much iodine can cause thyroid problems. Iodine is a very important mineral for thyroid function, and seaweed is a great source of iodine. While the thyroid can adjust to higher intakes of iodine, it is possible to develop thyroid problems from too much iodine. So this is why I'm saying incorporate it. Don't become obsessive with it. You know what I'm saying? Like once a week, twice a week, maybe, you know what I'm saying, sometimes 3 times a week, but do not, we don't have to overdo it. That's like with any of these herbs. You see right now, the only thing I'm doing is the ambrosia, right? I'm not, I'm not taking any supplements, because every now and then we gotta give our body a break and allow it to function without the stuff. We want our body to be able to do what it does. We want the body to be able to produce the chemicals, because our body can produce a lot of the chemicals that we need. It don't produce iodine. It don't produce other elements like certain fatty acids. I think it's 3. Whatever. It don't produce 3 and 6 fatty acids, 3 and 6, I think it is. So we have to get those from outside sources. But other than that, there's certain things, a majority of stuff that we need to feel good and be healthy, our body can naturally produce. Actually, it's our microbiome that produce and extract this stuff that our body needs, right? And by keeping that healthy, boom, we healthy. So, a Japanese study found that women who regularly consume 15 to 30 grams of kombu had an elevated TSH and reduced free T3 and T4. When these women stopped consuming seaweed, their TSH and thyroid hormones level returned to normal. Therefore, the authors of this study recommended not to exceed 3 milligrams of iodine. A serving of seaweed typically contains 20 to 50 milligrams. So you can do it once a week and be cool. You can do it once every 2 weeks and be cool. Hell, you can do it once a month and be cool. Right? But it's an additive, right, that you could throw into your diet. Asian cuisines typically serve seaweed along with foods that contain goutrogens that inhibit iodine absorption by the thyroid. Right? So now, proper food combining, right? So check this out. These include common Asian staples such as tofu, soy milk, and cruciferous vegetables. This might explain why most Japanese and other Asians can consume seaweed without any problems. So you consume seaweed, boom, soy products, right? You know what I'm saying? It helps your body not be able to absorb as much iodine. You get the iodine you need, but then you block a lot of the others and allow it to be flushed out your system. Those with existing thyroid disease or those predisposed to it should monitor total iodine intake. This is especially important for those who live in countries that have fortified foods and table salts with iodine in America. Right? Generally, consumption of seaweed on occasion 2 to 3 times a week as a condiment, 1 to 2 tablespoons, generally will not exceed the 3 milligram limits. To be safe, monitor thyroid hormone levels with your doctor as you introduce seaweed into your diet to see if eating seaweed will possibly cause a thyroid problem for you. Alright? Digestive problems from seaweed, carbohydrates, and fibers. Seaweed contains many types of carbohydrates our digestive system can't digest. These carbohydrates are passed down to our gut bacteria, the microbiome. For people prone to digestive problems or with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, these carbohydrates cause significant issues. The food industry widely uses these carbohydrates such as carrageenan and agar to stabilize or texturize foods in the food industries. Carrageenan in particular is very problematic. It causes inflammation both in the gut and throughout the body. It is therefore very wise to avoid carrageenan as a food additive. While pure carrageenan has been linked to health problems, there is no study linking carrageenan in whole food sources to the same problems that have been linked to carrageenan in isolation. It is perhaps best to avoid seaweeds that are higher in carrageenan content such as Irish moss and occasionally enjoy other seaweeds in moderation. Everything in moderation, my friend. Alright? Radioactivity levels from Fukushima. We already know that's Japanese, right? So one of the ways to get around is to get your seaweed that grows everywhere. We don't got to get it from seaweed, but let's go and read about that. A high iodine diet can protect against radioactivity. This is why when Fukushima nuclear plants melted down, the Japanese government gave iodine supplements to aid workers and evacuees. Chris Kresser discusses the topic of Fukushima radiation in Pacific seafood, and they got a blog post up. He states that the levels of radiation in the U.S. Pacific coast are rather insignificant when compared to other background sources of radiation that already exist in the U.S., or compared to our exposure flying on an airplane. Bottom feeding fish near the coast of Japan show more contamination, but even then the levels of radioactivity fall below the international dose limits. They got dose limits, y'all. We'll talk about that. In fact, Maine Coast, a seaweed purveyor that regularly tests their products for toxins, found that their products only had background levels of radioactivity even right after Fukushima events in March 2011. Because seaweed is at the bottom of the food chain, where it's eaten by other animals, the concentration of toxin in seaweed is much less than in the fish or other animals that eat the seaweed. Toxic heavy metal. While rich in beneficial minerals, seaweed can also contain toxic metal. This likely depends on the type of the seaweed, where it is harvested from, and the variation of toxin levels in the water. Several reports detail the heavy metal content of seaweed. Heavy metals in lavar, sea tangle, sea mustard, hijaki, and gulfweed from South Korea coast are below safety limits. Hijaki, regardless of brand, contains arsenic that is above the safety limit. Alright? So, do your research about the type that you eat. A Spanish study extensively compared various types of seaweed imported from Japan, China, Korea, and Chile that are sold in Spain. They conclude that most seaweed products are safe with respect to WHO guidelines. Who is who? Why should we trust them? Alright. However, some species such as hijaki and H. fusiforme may be high in arsenic. Heavy metal levels in seaweed can really vary from batch to batch. The best way to know for sure is to purchase your seaweed from companies that regularly third-party lab test their products for heavy metals. One company I like that does this is Maine Coast. They publish their test results on their website. Remember, the heavy metals exposure also comes through other sources like the environment and foods like fish and seafood. Everyone's ability to remove these heavy metals from their body differs. If you are concerned about heavy metal levels, it might be wise to avoid seaweed and seafood altogether. Alright? Seaweed as a superfood, how it stacks up. There are many benefits of seaweed, and it's a very nutritious food. Healthy people can enjoy seaweed as a condiment a few times a week. If you have concerns about thyroid health or digestive, yes, my camera keeps telling me I talk too much. If you have concerns about your thyroid health or digestive functions, you may want to speak to your doctor about monitoring your condition as you introduce more seaweed into your diet. With a few exceptions, radioactivity and heavy metal toxicity is of low concern for seaweed. In general, seaweed harvested from Korean coast is quite safe. When in doubt, purchase your seaweed from a reputable company that tests their products for contamination such as Maine Coast. Alright? So, we know it's rich in vitamins and minerals, DHA and EPA, omega-3 fatty acids, aids in digestion, contains antioxidant, rich in fiber, probiotics, prebiotics. It's great for snacking, soups, garnishes. You know what I'm saying? So, there you have it. We done talked about seaweed. On to the next. We got to get to some grains, because there's some super grains out there that many of us are missing that we can use to supplement, or in some cases to replace rice with some of our meals, right? So we want to start mixing it up, and we want to start incorporating things into our African heritage diet, into our culturally appropriate diets. All right? So this is Brother Hatem. Remember, eat culturally appropriately, right? Eat things that your ancestors ate, right? Eat things that align you up with your ancestors. It'll open you up more to their presence and to the messages that they send you, right? Food is culture. Food is culture. Culture connects you with your past. Your past connects you to the wisdom of your people. All right? Let's get plugged into that wisdom. This is Brother Tim. I'm out. Thank you for watching the video. I want you to subscribe. Click the bird right there, the fiery bird. And I also have a special video just for you right there. And for those that want more information about Nyame Journey, go to our site. It should be right about there.